It's better, I think.
Hi,
Hey man,
nice to meet
I'm
you,
mute to
Tobias.
send you a greeting.
Nice to meet you too.
How's it going?
So,
I'm all right. This is the first time I've actually been using Zoom. For my work, we always use Teams, so it's a bit of getting to know this program.
it's a mess. It's a
Yeah.
mess. Like Zoom, Team, Google Meets, whatever, it's all over the place. I get so confused meanwhile with all the meetings and stuff. So, so Fede is from Argentina. I'm German, but I'm based in Hungary right now. And well, it's a pleasure to meet you. You just, I think it's your first publication ever. It's the first song, right?
Of this album, indeed. Yeah.
Wow.
I was actually a bit because before the whole social media stuff, etc. When you released a CD, you could just release it to the reviewers and then send it to them. But in these times, I mean, you have to have this whole Facebook page and a website, etc. already there, because if someone receives a CD or a link to it, then they want to see what's happening on social media or a website, etc. So if it were up to me, I'd rather have it all only to the reviewers right now, and then only the Facebook and the website, etc. released when the album was actually released. But yeah, now well, this is how it went, obviously.
You know
but
that
the first release of the album, indeed. So this is the first single or track.
Yeah, you know that Michael shared with me the song, your first song. I was checking today in the morning. We are in the morning right now here, but it was so awesome, man. It's like
Thank you.
old death metal, but really sounds really good. The production looks like brilliant. It was.
Okay, that's
I
cool.
really want to hear the whole album.
I think
Yeah.
I sent you the Dropbox links, right? So you can download the whole thing.
Oh,
Yeah, it's in the mail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's really intense. I thought first it's like kind of a mixture between wolf art with keyboards and a bit of slam attributes, somewhere in between. Like, and he actually looked kind of wolf artish a bit, no? you know wolf art?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like it's really well done. It's a bit of a new approach with the keyboards, and it's really awesome. It's intense. It's a clean production. Really loves that stuff.
Cool.
And you do all on yourself, right?
Yeah. So when I started this, I mean, I tried to start over the past couple of years. I tried to do some new things, and then every time I felt, man, this is not really good enough or whatever. And when I started this, I thought, well, now I have this clear concept in my mind of what I want to achieve. And then I thought, well, just do one song first and see how that goes. And then I had one song, and I thought, well, I'll just do three, and then see if I'm still liking this enough, right? And then it went on, and then I thought, well, 6 is not really a good number, so let's do 7 because that's a better number. And then I thought, well, okay, so now I'm at this point, and I did everything myself. And then I wanted to continue that because I wanted to do the production myself and the mixing and the mastering, etc. So I had to, invest quite some time to actually, because I never mixed and mastered before. Obviously, I have some experience with it, but not on a professional level. So I took quite some time to invest in that. And then, this is what came out.
Wow, so there's a lot of knowledge there,
Yeah. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this concept. It's called Nail the Mix. And Nail the Mix basically is it's a company that allows subscribers to watch along with a professional producer. So it could be the producer of Periphery or the producer of Archspire. And then they show you real time. So usually the videos are like 6, 7, 8 hours long. They show you real time how they mix a particular song of a particular band. So the one that I really enjoyed was the one that's done by Adam Getgood, I think is his name, who did the mixing of the Periphery album. He's also the bass player. And he just shows you exactly how he mixes the whole song. So from scratch, right?
Wow, every detail is there.
Yeah, that was really informative.
Wow, that's interesting. Really
Yeah, so that's how I did it. Also, I have obviously some experience because I've been making music for quite some time. So I had some idea in my head of how I wanted it to sound. But basically stuff like this, in the old days, I mean, you had to go to a studio and see how it's done. And then the producer probably didn't want to show how it's done. But now, times have changed. This is really easy to do it like this.
Wow. Yeah. more impressive when you know that you just started out to really produce your own stuff, you know, like, because it sounds like you had already lots of experience actually.
Yeah, well, in the past, with earlier producers, there was always some, I mean, you can ask someone to change something once or twice, but if you ask it like 10 times, because it's still not exactly how you wanted it to be, it gets quite offensive, right? I mean, it's not really polite to ask someone 20 times, could you maybe, and now I didn't have that whole problem. So for some people, the mix might not be good enough or whatever, but that's fine. For me, it's the best that I could do. And I think for the next album, I will probably, well, hopefully do it better than this time. But the whole idea of having total control over everything, to me, was it was also a bit scary because I had to learn a lot of stuff, right? But it was also very comforting because I knew that if I wanted to have the snare just a bit louder or the bass, because I really like really loud bass. I'm a big fan of Rush, and Geddy Lee's bass on some albums, I think is amazing. And I really wanted to have that destructive sound of the bass, right? And not all producers are a fan of a bass as loud. And now I just wanted to put it as loud as I wanted it to be.
Wow, nice influences. You know,
Yeah,
it looks like gonna be like death metal or something more, you know, more metal. But yeah, the classics always. You know.
yeah. I'm a big fan of Rush. I mean, Rush for me is the ultimate band. I mean, for not only for the whole concept and the lyrics, etc., but the musicianship and the whole vibe that they have. I mean, it's a bit of a nerd band, right? But not derogatory. But if you look at the audience of Rush, it's usually middle-aged men, so men of my age, who are really into it. They don't have any superficial fans or whatever.
Yeah.
And his bass sound, I really love.
Damn, I have to listen to Rush again.
Oh yeah, I love it, but I never had a chance to see them live. You know, with it's awesome band.
Yeah, I went to, because I live in the Netherlands, and I went to London to see them live together with my cousin. So I only saw them once, but that was it was really cool. So that's a big, well, it's not a big musical influence, but what I like about Rush is the fact that their music can be very complex. But if you don't pay attention to it, it sounds just like regular music. And if you have a particular musical background and you pay attention to it, then you all of a sudden hear, oh, this is quite complex and quite extreme what they're doing. And I really like that aspect.
Yeah, I think the musicians really appreciate that.
Yeah, indeed. It's a musician's band, I think.
Yeah. Not for everyone.
Cool.
You know? It's so easy.
No, especially the earlier albums. I remember when I was young and I discovered Rush. I was like, man, this is awesome, and I wanted to play it to all my friends, etc. And they were like, man, what's with the vocals, man? I mean, a lot of people don't really like the vocals. I'm a big fan of everything, but not everyone.
Yeah.
What was the harder part for you, actually? The writing of the songs, or the playing of the instruments, or the production?
What?
What was the hardest part for you when producing the album? Like the writing of the songs, the playing the instruments, the production, the technical part?
The hardest part for me is always the beginning, because as someone who does something creative, it's always a challenge if you are still able to do it, because you begin with this blank canvas, and then you start and perhaps you have something in your head, or perhaps you're noodling around or something. But there's always this fears or something in the back of your mind that you're not able to do what you did before, because perhaps what you did before was just this, that you had a stroke of luck or whatever, and that you're not being able to do it anymore. And so for me, the beginning was the hardest, because when I started this project, I had this concept in my mind. I wanted it to be abstract. I wanted it to be not to use the guitar to actually play riffs, but to support more the rhythmical aspects, and use the keyboards to provide some of the melodic parts. But I wasn't sure if I was able to do it. So the first couple of times, I mean, you sit down and you write something, and you go like, that really sucks. And then that happens 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and then suddenly something happens, and then you go, oh, that's okay. And then you start the second song, and you go, I'm not sure if I can do it again. And that process basically continues. And by the time I started mixing, I wasn't sure how well I would be able to mix it, but at that point I was sure enough that it would be acceptable at least.
Mhm.
And, yeah, so so the beginning for me is always the hardest part.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I'm a visual artist myself, and it's always a challenge. You know, you always think, oh, fuck, I can't do it anymore. Especially when you just start out, you have a bad day, low energy, you know. You have to start 5 times, 10 times, 15 times until you get to a point where it's actually like, okay, maybe I can leave it like that, you know. And then once you get into it, it's getting better. But you have a massive talent, yeah. Like you do everything by yourself, all the instruments, everything. Like it's a massive talent.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think a part of it is that I have quite a lot of dedication. So if I want to do something good, then I can dedicate quite a lot of time and attention to it. So that also helps, obviously. And I also have a clear view in my mind of what I like to hear. So during my musical career, I played with a lot of musicians who were really, really good. So my former band, IKEOS, the drummer is really, really good drummer. He also played in Ducented, along with the guitar player of IKEOS, also in Ducented. I'm not sure if you know Ducented. It's a German band.
I don't think so. Maybe I heard them, but I don't remember now.
But the bass player is now in Pestilence. I think you guys will know Pestilence.
Yeah.
So I played with a lot of really great musicians over the years, and that whole process also was very. I mean, you get quite critical of yourself if some things are good enough or not, and so yeah, I think I have some talent indeed, but it's also quite a lot of dedication and hard work as well.
It's a project that you really need to be alone, isn't it? Because you used to be in a bands. So this is a very different, very personal project.
Yeah, indeed, and that's also something that I really like, because it's very challenging, and it's also very confronting. Because yeah, if you have, or you're in a dip or whatever, then usually you have some other bandmates who go, okay, well, let's do this or let's do that. But in this case, it's only me, and that's also for obviously the whole social media stuff, which is all quite new to me. So I also had to dive into that to see, yeah, how it all worked, etc. I'm not really a big fan of promoting or something, right? Because in an ideal world, you make something that you consider is beautiful, and then other people recognize this for what it is. But obviously, it doesn't work like that. I mean, you have to meet the right people, and you have to have a lot of luck as well.
Yeah.
But indeed, as you say, I think something like this is easiest done on your own, because I wasn't confined by other people's opinions of whether it sounded right or whether it could happen or not. So when I listen to it, I merely hear the keyboards functioning as or the synthesizers functioning as a melodic aspect, right? But a lot of people hear something that they call industrial, which is not something that I would associate with it, but obviously that's fine. But industrial metal for me, it evokes a different experience than what I hear when I listen to this music. But that's fine. But if I can imagine if you were in a band and I would make a demo like this and I would send it through, what do you guys think about this? And then we go, no, that sucks, man. That's not. And then it would probably stop right there. And now I also made some songs in the beginning, which in retrospect, indeed did suck, but it also gave me the opportunity to grow with it and then produce songs that were a bit better than the ones before.
It's very interesting that you say that with the qualities, that the quality of a product or artwork should stand by itself. Like I have the same attitude, and I think it's kind of in the metalhead attitude incorporated as well. Like it always feels bad if you have to promote, if you have to put ads online, or you have to advertise yourself. It's always like a weird feeling. And I just had like a very nice experience. There's this new band. It's also a one-man band project from Germany, Kanonenfieber, they are called. And this guy put like a thematic World War I album out like a month ago or 2 weeks ago, and has already like 160,000 views because it's just awesome shit, you know. Did much. I don't think he did much of anything, you know. So check it out, like they're really awesome, great project as well. Yeah. Yeah, how did you learn singing? How did you develop your vocals? That's always a hard part, I think.
Yeah, I didn't really develop anything. I mean, I started singing when I was, I think, 13 or 14 or something. And the singer that we had then, he left the band. I think, I'm not sure how the whole process went, but at least we needed a singer, and I thought, well, then I could just do it myself. So I had to. So we started out with covers of Iron Maiden at first, but I can't really sing. So when we switched to death metal covers of Pestilence, etc., then that was a bit easier for me. And then over the years, it grew. But also here, I mean, since I recorded everything at home, I could just play around with it until I thought it sounded well. So if one day the vocals didn't sound well, I just did it another day, and then I did 10 takes or something, as long as it took until I was satisfied, which is also a luxury that we have now and that we didn't have like 20 years ago when you had to book a studio or something.
Right. Do you consider playing live with some hired or some friends one day?
Yeah, well, it depends on how it goes, because usually if you're in a beginning in a band and you're not a well-established name, then playing live can be fun. I mean, yeah, it can be fun, but also, especially if you're getting older a bit, then you're more aware of how you invest your time, and taking half a day off from work to sit around in the backstage area for 6 hours until you have to play a show for a venue that's half empty or more, and people that are actually waiting for the main act, that's not always the most fun experience. So in the bands that I played before, that was a bit different, because when we started that, I was also younger. So then you have the whole growing curve, and then the whole process is fun. But right now, I'm probably, if I'm sitting in the backstage area, I'm thinking, well, I could also be at home making music or working out or doing stuff that I enjoy more than waiting around, right? But yeah, that could change. It depends a bit, because I also miss a bit the whole performing live, etc., the whole vibe that you get. So I haven't really decided on that yet. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, right now it's a different cost of opportunity for you. As
yeah, indeed.
You were young.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, but also now, I mean, a lot of bands get most of their exposure, or the easiest exposure, I think, by performing live, because then all of a sudden 50 people can intensely experience you, and then decide if they want to buy something or if they want to like you on Facebook or whatever. Whereas if you're not performing now, not only due to COVID, but also in my situation, I'm not sure if I'm going to perform live, then that whole process is also quite different. So it's a different challenge.
Yeah,
right.
And also, do you want to have another project, beside this one that is your own, some with friends or with the band?
Yeah, well, perhaps I'm not really sure, because well, I hate to sound like a dictator, but I usually have an idea in my head that I think my idea, or how I have it in my head, is better than other people's ideas, and that doesn't always work well. So in my previous band, I was only doing vocals, and all those musicians were really, really great, right? So that was a bit different. But if you play in a band, you have to make concessions. And right now, I'm also in a point in my life that I'm not ready to make concessions. I like to do things my way. I want to make it as extreme as I want, or as complex as I want, without someone saying, "Yeah, I have to," because some of the parts in this on this album are so complex that they never repeat. There are 2 songs on there which have no clear repeating rhythmic structure, which means that when I played it, I had to look at the sheet music to know when I needed to play something. And if you're in a band, that's not really fun. I mean, you have to rehearse it quite a lot of times in order to get 5 minutes of non-repeating music exactly correct, which I'm not sure if that would work. So, but in this case, I mean, for me, it's perfect. For me, that works fine. But yeah, it depends a bit on the situation.
Right.
Yeah, you can use your own time, wherever you want. Yeah. You can record or write or create. Yeah, nice.
So you mentioned you have been like 13 years when you started singing. So when did you get into metal?
I think it was in first grade of high school, when a friend of mine, I think, it was my dad, he made me listen to Dire Straits, and then I heard the guitar solo in Sultans of Swing, and I was like, man, I can't believe that. I mean, that's so complex and etc. And I thought, wow, that's just impossible. And then my the neighbor's kid, who was also my age, his brother was into Iron Maiden, and then I heard Iron Maiden, and I heard the guitar solos in there, and I was like, man, that's insane. I mean, those guys must be the best guitar players on the planet. And from then on, it went further and further, because then I heard Slayer, and then I heard In Rain and Blood, the double bass part in Angel of Death, and I was like, man, that's so my mind was continuously blown each time I heard something new, and then it just progressed further and further. So the first time I think I heard actual death metal was probably around 13, 14. Albums like False from Gorefest, and Pestilence, obviously, and Death. And I think, that never stopped. So I continuously listened to death metal until now. I must say, over the past few years, I've been more selective in what I listen to.
Yeah.
Because I also really enjoy classical music. I'm a big fan of Bach. Also, the whole the rhythmic parts and all the melodies, etc. I really enjoy. But so I think 13, 14, first time I listened to actual death metal.
Okay. Did you study music, like to play?
Yeah,
the instrument?
I started classical guitar when I was 9, and I did that for a while. Then I got a bit bored with it, but then I discovered electric guitar and also all the names I just mentioned. So that was a huge influence on me. But the past few years, I only usually play classical guitar. That's the only instrument that I actually enjoy studying, because I don't really like. Well, I also like playing electrical guitar, but electrical guitar is more of a necessity to me to create the whole music, whereas classical guitar for me is a solo instrument that I can perform when I'm studying here, right? So that's a whole different concept to me. So I enjoy playing classical guitar a lot more than electrical guitar, but obviously I need the electric guitar to make music like this. So I enjoy creating the whole music, where the electric guitar is just a small part, but making actual music on my own, I really enjoy the classical guitar more.
Yeah, that's more complex, must to be cleaner.
Yeah, and it's also for me at least a much greater challenge. I mean, it's a challenge that I like doing instead of I'm not a fan of rehearsing guitar solos or whatever. So I'm a really big fan of Steve Vai, for example, but I wouldn't want to invest a lot of time in being able to play what he plays or try to do that, because that's not a challenge that I enjoy. But I do enjoy studying hours and hours on end on a piece by Bach, for example. That's also extremely complex, but it's a whole different thing.
Do you think these two styles could be melted, actually, so you could bring a classic vibe into electric guitar, into metal?
Well, I actually tried it once to create a metal version of a Bach song, but I didn't even finish it. I think I was like 1 minute in, and I thought, wow, this is really this is like heresy or whatever. I mean, it's I don't know. It's to me, it didn't work at all. So perhaps you could. I mean, there also are bands that employ classical instruments in their music. What was it? The Dimmu Borgir. I think they worked with an orchestra in the past, right?
Yeah. Yes. Also.
Yeah, indeed. And for them, it works great, but that's something different, because they're not actually using a combination of classical music and their own. I mean, they use the orchestra to support their own music, I think. Yeah. So I think perhaps it could be possible, but I'm not sure how many people would actually enjoy something like that. But it's an interesting thought.
Right. I thought the other day, what was it? Beyond Creation. It's death metal, and I could swear, like some of the intros, the heavy guitar intros sound like classical music, partially. Like if you listen to it carefully, it had a bit of this vibe of classical music. And I thought, okay, it could be an interesting approach, actually, to melt these two. But I think many musicians tried it in the past, like 20 years, 30 years of metal to do something like that, with varying success.
Well, I think the guy from Necrophagus, Mohammed Switch, I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, but I think he also employed some, at least neoclassical stuff, like Yngwie Malmsteen type stuff in his guitar solos, which for that works very well. But and that's also one of the reasons why I started this, because when I grabbed my guitar and I wanted to create a new song, and there's this something that's like muscle memory that makes you play something that you probably already played before. It's really hard to do something entirely new. And as a visual artist, for you, that's probably also something that you will recognize, that there are some things that you do because you already did them before. And doing something that's completely new and completely out of the box is actually quite difficult. And that's why I try to force myself, in this case, to only use the guitar in the way that it's used on this album, because that would also force me to be more creative in how I apply that, and also with the whole synthesizer aspect. Because the guitars here, I only play power chords, and they're not actual riffs. It's more rhythmic stuff than that it's actual like the opening from The Trooper by Iron Maiden or whatever, right? I mean, that's an actual guitar riff, and here I'm basically supporting the drums and the bass.
Sounds like your album is like a unique, alone standing piece of art, which will probably never be repeated live or anything like that.
Yeah, perhaps that could be. But yeah, I mean, if this album gets very well received, and I get a nice offer, not a monetary offer, but an offer to play somewhere that's really nice, then that perhaps, I mean, I know the musicians who could do something like this live. I'm not sure if I could be able to do the guitar and the vocals live, because this is quite complex. But yeah, never say never.
Right. Yeah, really anxiety of that. You know, it's like a nice idea, but we know that's gonna take some time. You know, have the right moment, the right people to do that.
Yeah.
To performing, you know, on the whole album.
Yeah.
And you still keep going with some new songs, writing songs?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So basically, after I finished this, I just immediately went on with new stuff in the, well, sort of the same style. So I think if it's up to me, there will be a second Interpolant album as well.
Wow, cool. I'm sure you will have success with that one. Like, it sounds awesome. It's just a matter of time. You know,
Just hearing Tobias, I'm really tired. You know, it's like, wow, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I'm not sure if you saw the movie What About Bob? It's a classical 90s movie with Bill Murray, one of my favorite actors. But in this movie, he continuously says baby steps. I mean, you have to take small steps. And if at the beginning you are already aware of all the things that still need to be done, then probably there's a big chance I wouldn't have finished it. But in the beginning, I just focused on what's today and what's the next day, for example, right? And then I had one song, then 2, 3, and then I had 7. And I thought, okay, well, perhaps I should make an album of this. And then, well, I also had to do the artwork and then the mixing and the mastering, etc. But I took them one step at a time, baby steps. And then, yeah, that worked out very well for me. And I think for the next album, some steps will be, because they're already learned, for example, the mixing and the mastering, etc., then it will be a bit easier, hopefully. And also the social media stuff, and also all the time that I invested in seeking out like people like you to send the album to, etc. That also took quite some work, Googling, and then also because a lot of web scenes have their own way of how they want the material to be submitted.
Yeah.
Some only want you to use like not Dropbox, but only SoundCloud, or not WeTransfer, but only something else. Yeah. And then in the end, I decided, okay, I'm going to do it one way. And if that doesn't fit that particular web scene, then that's fine. But I cannot do a new way for every web scene. So that also took quite some time to get that whole structure going.
Yeah, sure.
How about the record label? That's your own idea also?
Yeah. The main reason behind it is that I wasn't really sure if I would actually do it like this, but I thought visually it looked better if there would be a record label on the album itself. That is the first thing, but also I thought it would be easier to communicate with different web scenes, etc., if the mail actually comes from a label, because since I'm doing all the label tasks already, so the whole promotional stuff and the whole investment stuff, etc., then, well, why not call it a label?
Right. do you see a potential to actually contract other bands under your label?
No, not right now. No, this label is only for me actually. Also because the whole music industry, especially now, it's quite hard. And I mean, even if there were a band that would be interested, I'm not sure if I would have the time and energy to give them what they would need. I mean, I find it hard enough to do all the not stuff like this, obviously, but Googling for hours on end to get a whole list of web scenes, etc. And then, I mean, stuff like that is not really a creative process for me. It's just a bit well, tedious.
Yeah.
And especially because also if you send out the emails, I also did them by hand. So you have to send out like 200 emails by hand, making sure there's no typos, and you also want not it to look like it came from a MailChimp or whatever. So that was quite some energy invested there.
Yeah, energy, time. You need more people for sure. You know, to do the things that you really don't enjoy. You know.
Yeah.
But it's always like that, you know. You have the fun part and then the hard part, the footwork.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
How was the response rate from the scenes, from the websites?
I got some emails of people saying that they really liked it, but I think I sent out like 220 emails or something to web scenes and YouTube channels and stuff like that. And I think I got like, 10 replies or something, because I can imagine that a lot of web scenes get like 50, 60 submissions a day. And then probably they want to, and that's also the reason why I put the SoundCloud link in there, because then you can immediately check if is this something that we want to do, yes or no. So I hope that helped, but a lot of them don't have the time to actually reply. So the people who listen to it are usually quite enthusiastic, but also even for death metal standards, this is quite extreme, I think, because it's not easy listening or not something that you put on while you're doing something else, I think.
For me, yes, absolutely. I love it. I love it. Like I said, it's a perfect sweet spot. And actually, the keyboards make it more interesting. It gives an additional layer of complexity to it, you know, which makes it more interesting. I was a bit surprised by the slam vocals, you know, like the cranium style vocal parts. I was surprised. But beyond that, it's like perfect creative music, writing music for me. Absolutely.
We can wait for the next one.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, with the submission, it's true. We get like a lot of applications as well, and we can't answer to many. Like sometimes I listen to some stuff and okay, it's nice, and I should be kind and reply, but it's just not possible time-wise to cover everything.
Yeah. No, I think I mean virtually all web scenes make that very clear on their website, so that's fine. But so I mean, especially in the beginning, it's quite stressful in the sense that that's the first time that you send it to people, and then you're not sure if the Dropbox is actually working. Yeah, I checked it myself quite a few times just to be sure, but you never know because so I did it in stages. So I first sent out 10 emails, thinking that if the Dropbox is not working, then I will probably get an email back from, okay, what's this for amateur stuff? It's not even working. And then I did the rest of the emails. So it was all quite stressful, but yeah, obviously I understand that a lot of people don't have time to send a nice reply because, I got some replies, but only a fraction, obviously.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Wow.
Fede, any more questions?
No, I want to hear the next songs. You know, just
back to Dropbox.
Just one,
I can confirm it's working.
Yeah, really awesome. I really love that metal. I love, I mean, all metal stuff, but I think I'm more involved in the death metal last years. I don't know why, but yeah, and I discovered some great bands and some new ones, also new projects. I really appreciate the song that you released. And I want to.
Can you forward him the Dropbox link, Michael?
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Can you forward the Dropbox link to?
Yeah. Fede has it definitely.
Okay.
We always get all the mails from the contact form, and if it's something especially interesting like yours, I forward it manually to him always.
Okay.
just in case that he gets it. Just if you get to listen to everything, sometimes we start to listen 2-3 hours before the interview. We just listen like for 1 minute. If it's interesting, and then a few hours we start to listen. And in your case, I listened it up and down like the last 2 hours because I really like it. Sometimes I think I can imagine for new artists it can be difficult because there's so much great music actually. The same was on Thursday. We had a new black metal band from Greece. Awesome stuff, very extreme avant-garde black metal, they are called, nihilism, you can check them out. And it's also very cool stuff, like from my feeling, like I'm an old metalhead, I'm 45 now, I grew up with Cannibal Corpse and the early Slayer and Pestilence also, the early Pestilence with Sandrunen singing with them still.
Asphyx also, like
Asphyx, yeah, of course. Asphyx came a bit later, I think they came after Pestilence. But, yeah. But people sometimes glorify the old music scene. But nowadays, what we have so much talent, and the artists have so much possibilities to put out their own projects. Like you too, you don't need a studio anymore. You don't need a big label. You don't need massive amounts of money or support by companies. You can just do it and set results and offer a massive offer of great music nowadays, which I actually really enjoy. But it makes it more difficult for the artist, I think, to get really discovered, to get really recognized. So I think you have to work really hard to get through.
You have to have a lot of luck as well, because if someone who is influential hears it and decides to share it on YouTube or whatever, I mean, stuff like that's worth gold, right? Because that can just be the thing that you need in order for other people to hear it. So,
yeah. I mean, that's the social media world, but still, I think, like at least in metal, so real quality stuff still finds its way. You know, it can be like Polish black metal, like Mgła, for example, Mingla, Rhythm. Like they started ultra small, and now everybody knows them. And even here in Budapest, I walk in a rock store and I can buy patches of them. You know,
like, also a very big fan of Mgła. I mean, I really like, and there's also this new Polish black metal band. The Man Brin or Man Byrne or whatever, it's supposed to consist of famous black metal musicians, but they only use their first letters, so no one knows who they are. And I also really like that as well. So a lot of cool stuff happening. Yeah, I will send you the link.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great.
Okay. Well, thank you, man.
The last one. Will you put your album like physically also?
Yeah, so it will be released on June 4th, and then I will sell it via Bandcamp. So physically, you're able to buy a physical CD, but the digital download will be free. So because I wanted to have the biggest opportunity for other people to enjoy this, and so they can I mean, they can also pay for it, obviously, but the download will just be free.
Yeah, because you know we are like old school, and I need the vinyl or CD or something. You know, I really appreciate all the art. You know, it's like the artwork and photographs and stuff. So yeah, that's awesome. So that's okay.
Do you mind if I make a small screenshot of the thing in the top so I can share it on my Facebook? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Fede, can you do a screenshot? No, I mean you can, of course.
Yeah.
Do you want to smile or do you want to look angry?
I don't care. I'm in all my different shapes on YouTube already, from sober to drunk to whatever, you know.
As you want.
Yes, I think that's it.
Put it on.
Let me see if it worked. Wait, let me try one more time.
Right.
Worked?
I think so. I'm not sure if it's allowing me to do this actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it worked. Yeah, we're done.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you for your time, man. We have a term over time of about 2 weeks. So in 1-2 weeks, I think it will be online. We share the link, and thanks, man.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.